You're listening to Ideal Practice episode number 203. And this is the next installment of my summer replay series, guys, where I'm bringing out some of my favorite conversations, interviews, episodes that we have had over the past 3 or 4 years here on Ideal Practice. And today is, oh my gosh, I had forgotten how much fun this one was. Today, well, let me just put it this way. Have you ever heard anybody in our line of work, healers, clinicians, health professionals, ever say that marketing was fun? Yeah, not a common thing, but today's guest has exactly that kind of attitude, and she is fun to listen to. You get to meet Mika Ross, and if you have not heard what Mika has to share, you are in for a treat, because this was absolutely delightful. Yeah, so stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of Ideal Practice. This is Wendy, your host. I'm so happy to be hanging out with you guys today. How are you doing? How's your day? How's your week so far? I know we're just getting started in the week. At the time that I am recording this, I just got back from a week at Colonial Williamsburg, which you guys heard me talking about a little bit before, and it did not disappoint. I tell you, I never ever get tired of that place. I learned so much on this trip, and I continue to learn every time I go about lots of interesting details about our country way back in the day. The focus in general was around the early 1700s, and just one quick little tidbit to tell you how relevant this can be. One of the things I learned this time was that 70% of the businesses that existed inside the city of Williamsburg back in the 1700s were owned by women. How about that? And that they were treated with respect, seen as people of value, that there was no expectation that their husbands would run their businesses or that it was in some way unseemly. They were respected as a member of the community. So I love that. I love that. And I know it's true because Martha Washington told me herself, who was also, I think, a force to be reckoned with. So there's that. That's where I've been, where my head's been. I am trying to bring it back to the modern century. Bear with me if it takes me a few days, but that's where I'm at today. So today's guest, let me tell you about her. You get to meet Mika Ross. She is a therapist. She is a couples therapist, or that's how I knew her, located just outside of St. Louis, Missouri. We met through a coaching program several years ago. Although I only knew her for a couple of years in that program, and then I lost touch with her, I have continued to follow her online. And I've been so impressed with the way she promotes her work online because it's funny, endearing, real, practical, and as a business coach, I have to say, really effective and impressive. And she does this in a way that I think the rest of us can learn from. And you'll hear some of this in the interview. She is so completely at ease with the importance and value of promoting herself and her services that shows, that comes across. There is no stress about this. Her marketing is not twisted and strained in some way. She's just being who she is. And her practice is booming. She is doing really, really well. I think you can learn a lot from her. And I don't just mean about strategy, because we did talk about that a little bit, but the main thing that I take away from this conversation is how important the energy is. How important the energy is that you bring to your marketing. And you'll hear how she thinks about getting paid for her work, how she thinks about serving her audience, how she thinks about the value of what she brings to the table, and some pretty funny things about how she is choosing to show up in the world and tell her potential audience about what she has to offer. So, without further ado, let's get in to this interview. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Ideal Practice. I am so excited to bring to you our guest today. You've already heard a little bit about her in the intro, but let's bring her on board. Say hello to everybody. Mika, welcome to Ideal Practice.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. I don't get to talk about this stuff very much.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Although you tell me people are beginning to ask you more about this.
Oh,
Right?
It's not beginning. I've
They've
had
been doing it a
people
while.
wanting to, yeah. So I should probably be talking about it more. I've got to figure that out.
That
But
might be
yeah,
next.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So you know this. So I've told everybody I've invited you here. So you and I met several years ago in group mastermind that we were in, and
yes.
then lost touch. But I have sort of followed you over the years because your marketing for your practice is so freaking over the top awesome, like
Oh,
literally awesome. And
thanks.
I mean, and you don't know me that well, but I don't say it if I don't mean it. Like I really have been just so impressed by it. And guys, she sent something out. I forgot what happened. Something that you sent showed up in my feed back in December. And I was like, wow, this is great. Look at this, And I like it totally pulled me in. I started reading about, I think at that point it was a course or a program, something you were doing about helping couples fight fair, something like that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even the content. It was so delivered so well. It just encapsulated what I think good marketing is for a psychotherapist that I was like, we've got to talk. I want to talk. And I went to
Oh,
your
nice.
website and I'm like, there's so much good stuff. So
It's a lot. It's a lot of good stuff.
say about that. Yeah.
My
An
website
abundance.
gal wasn't too thrilled when I brought her on last year with all the stuff. It's a
What
lot.
had you been doing it yourself up until then?
I had been doing it. I
Wow.
had been doing it myself. And, it's a lot. For someone that's not their forte, it was a lot. And it's pretty hodgepodged
Mm.
together. I think it was decent. And I think for
Yeah,
a
I
certain
always thought
period
so.
of time in your business, my practice was full. So it was hard to make a website and it's expensive and paying for a website a priority, when my practice was full. But my goal has always been to do more one to many, whether that's in person one to many or
Mm.
online one to many. And I knew if that's what I was really focused on, I needed to kind of up my website game. So
Yeah.
all the courses and things that I have now live are built into the site, which is really elegant and seamless and not cheap.
And not cheap.
Yeah.
Elegant and seamless and not cheap. Well, there's a saying you get what you pay for, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And as you up your game, your level of investment should also increase.
Mhm.
That's part of the business. Yeah. Let's just start with who you serve and how you help them. Who do you help and how do you help them?
Yeah, so my practice is about two-thirds couples and one-third individuals, men and women. And I serve them in person, but I also have loads of online workshops and course programs that I think is really different than traditional counseling. I started to get kind of frustrated with
Mm.
traditional counseling. A lot of couples, when they start having issues, they often have young children in the home, and that 7-year itch is a real thing. And so when I started creating online pieces of my work, I also had young children. I think it was around the time that I
Oh,
had a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 0-year-old. And I had
oh,
nothing but empathy for people who are having a hard time making the consistency and commitment work that it takes.
mm,
It takes consistency and commitment to create change.
yeah,
And to do
mm,
that with small kids and babysitters and it's tough. And so I
yeah,
created some online pieces of my work just in the beginning just to give people a way to continue to be consistent and to continue to chew on what we were discussing and to give me a way to kind of multiply myself. And I found myself, of course, saying things over and over again throughout a week. And
yeah.
I started putting those things on post-it notes in the hall outside my office.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And sort of organized it into a course. But it really just started as supplemental material for my clients because often at
There was
the end of the
so
session,
much.
I couldn't, we spent so much time kind of digging through their latest struggle. And I knew I wanted to give them more to think about kind of in between sessions. So
I
yeah, so
so
that's who
get
I
that. I'm like
serve.
the look on your face as you're saying that. I'm like, I know that feeling of you want to pour into people. Like there's
Yeah,
so much more I could tell you. We don't
right.
have enough time. And it is true. You spend so much time kind of rehashing the last week or the last drama. Um,
Yes.
and there's so much more, so much more. So
Yes.
you started writing stuff down on post-it notes
Mhm.
and sticking them on the wall outside your office so people couldn't
Yeah,
see them,
I
but you could
looked,
play with them. Yeah.
yeah, I looked a little, oh no, people saw him.
Oh,
I
people
mean,
saw them.
I, they were like, what's that? I was like, no, just don't worry about it.
Oh, that's
But
great.
I just started sticking them on post-it notes, and then the post-it note was kind of brilliant. And I've done this since then, and I've used, one of those big, I love those big post-it notes, those giant ones that, you can kind of do presentations on. And
Yeah.
I've stuck them there, which is then movable. I can have it in
Yeah.
my space or out of my space. And
Yeah.
then I was organizing the post-it notes sort of into like modules or lessons. And that worked. It was sort of like the note card system that I think we were taught to use to write long
Mm-hmm.
papers when we were kids,
Yeah.
um,
Huh.
but yeah, and in couples counseling, one of the really cool things that sending people home with with some supplemental material can do in videos is, after my first session, I'm often sending all couples the same video. And it talks about some really basic stuff in communication. And, oftentimes in therapy, you're taking so much time to build trust before you can deliver, like, well, how about we chew on this behavior change?
Mm.
And with
Yeah.
videos that I could send my people between session, they could sort of opt in to what was their part of maybe conversations that weren't going well or their part of the problem. And I didn't have to build trust.
Oh,
They
wow. That's
knew
interesting.
because it wasn't
Yeah.
coming from me in session, it was coming from me in this video that I didn't make just for them. It's not personal.
Which
And
which gave it a little bit of detachment, right? And then
yeah.
they were easy. It was easier for them to hear it.
And then they
I'm
come in and
guessing.
go, "Oh, I think I'm critical."
Oh,
Or, "Oh, I think I'm quick
huh.
to get defensive." And I'm like, "Okay. Yeah, let's tell me
Huh.
about that." And I didn't have to deliver that directly in any way. So it really makes the process so much more efficient in ways that I just didn't expect.
What an interesting idea.
Mhm.
So in the beginning, you were just trying to like, there's more I want to share with them. So I'm going to create a way that I can teach them outside of session. And you were doing,
Yeah.
was it video from the very beginning or did you? Yeah.
I was asked by a local, it was a great concept. It, for some reason, didn't succeed. It didn't survive, but it was a large space for families. It was a restaurant. It was a coffee shop. It was a play space. They also had daycare and classes. And the owner and I were somewhat connected, and she asked me to do a course for couples. And I actually did it first live.
Got it.
I had some videos, but my big kahuna course was
Yeah.
first live, and then I recorded it into videos. I got some feedback, felt like and the feedback was we want more. So after a
Mm,
6 week course in person,
mm,
so I really started then heavily incorporating that work into the clients that I had at the time too. So I thought they can definitely benefit from this. So that's when I
yeah.
created some what I call comprehensive programs. They are a mix of an online course that I have and in-person sessions. So they've got some things to kind of work through and chew on in a way, and I've put it together with a lot of thought. It's strategically sequenced.
Hmm.
And I think I strangely value efficiency.
Strangely value.
I do. I don't think that
Yeah.
most people value, my husband will, even just in the kitchen, will do this and then do that. And I'm like, but why didn't you do this and then that?
Right.
Like that
Because you
would
had
have
to walk
been
4 extra
like,
steps
you
to do
went
that.
this and then that and then, and he's
Yeah.
like, leave me alone.
I have my way, you have yours. Yeah. Yeah. That makes me think, what are you on the Enneagram? Do you know?
I can't figure out the Myers-Briggs. Here's what I think's happening. The Myers-Briggs nails me so completely that when I try to do the Enneagram, and it doesn't nail me completely. I feel like I can't, I don't, I feel like none of those numbers
No,
fit
it
as
makes any sense
well
for you. Yeah.
as ENFP.
Ah, okay. Okay. All right. All right.
But
That's
I want to though.
Yeah.
I've tried and tried.
That's okay. That's okay. I was just thinking about organization and structure, which is a strength of a one in particular, is where I was going with that. But
Well, and it's
so
not a strength of a P, and I'm actually
yeah.
98% P. So this is, but I've had to develop J skills
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
my strong penis, like I had to,
Yeah.
if I didn't develop strong J skills, I would have floundered.
So, guys, if you all are listening to this and you're not familiar with the Myers-Briggs, that's a whole nother conversation for another
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
Don't worry about that. But maybe one point to take away from this is that you work with your own natural styles and strengths. And sometimes as a business owner, you have to develop styles and strengths that aren't necessarily so natural. You have to lean into learning something new. So
yeah.
that's also part of
Well,
it
and
for
I think
sure.
it too, and more than
Yeah.
organization, I think I didn't used to think I was a creative person, which now I kind of laugh at.
Yeah, because you are.
It wasn't that long ago that I picked
Yeah.
up Liz Gilbert's Big Magic, which is
Mm-hmm.
for creative people. And I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't really know why I'm reading this. I'm not really creative. And it made me realize all the ways in my business I'm very creative. I'm very good at seeing the big picture and then reverse engineering something into how other people might learn it the quickest or might get the most out of it
Hmm.
with the least amount of time. But I don't know that I can organize. I am not
Yep.
consistently an organized person.
Okay. Okay.
Let's say that.
So your your business model right now, let's start with where you are now. Right now, your core service is couples work primarily and some individual, but psychotherapy.
Mhm.
From that core business, you have expanded the way you serve people, right? And it started, if I
Yes.
understand, with like little videos to give them in between sessions to teach them basic concepts of healthy relationships, right? And that has
Yes.
developed and expanded over the years. You've been in practice a long time. I can't remember now. How long have
Since
you been?
2006.
Yeah. Yeah. So a long time. Gosh,
Yeah.
coming up on 20 years. Yeah. 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 You should know something by now. And this is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are all like just to give people kind of an overview, and then I'm going to go somewhere without I'm hitting my microphone. I should not talk with my hands. Give people an overview of like what are some of the offerings that you have out there right now? What are some of the programs or services that you're offering in addition to your basic?
Yeah. Well, and I think the landscape has changed
Mm-hmm.
since I started doing this. And so originally I started out, with some free offers that, were in the form of webinars. And I don't I, I don't really subscribe to the idea that that's the only way to have a free offer anymore.
Yeah.
But it still lives on my website. It's called a free training for busy couples. It's long. And if people have the attention span for that, they can totally opt into it. It's got a ton of great information. And then I have a how to not get stuck, which is a shorter workshop for couples.
How to
Uh,
not get stuck.
how to not get stuck. So in communication, I find that, if people are entering a tough conversation and they don't necessarily have the skills to get all the way to a resolution, they're getting
Mm-hmm.
stuck in the attack defense cycle. So somebody perceiving criticism and somebody getting defensive. And in
Mm-hmm.
that place, we just kind of hit this gridlock where it either escalates and we're not getting to a resolution,
Mm-hmm.
or one person is, kind of shutting down,
Yeah.
still not getting to a resolution.
Right.
So how to not
Right.
get stuck is a very short and sweet, succinct workshop for couples to get them moving in the right direction really quickly. And then I have, some things that if people, like I said, my practice is full, I have a wait list. And that's really when I started making
Mm.
tidbits of things that people could opt into that maybe can't be my client yet,
Yeah.
or maybe can't afford to be my client, which I
Yeah.
totally understand. I think, counseling, of course, has gotten so expensive. And most of the time, couples counseling is not covered by insurance.
Yep.
So I a large part of why I do this is I want to reach as many people as I can. This isn't rocket science.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
not rocket science.
Yeah.
So I think that everybody deserves to have the tools to have happy relationships. And I know that this is probably not a super popular opinion. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know that it always requires counseling. I think counseling is helpful
Yeah.
But I think like my husband, counseling's he's not going to be
Not
a
his thing.
lifelong person in therapy. I could
Right.
sit on somebody else's couch and talk about myself all day. I'm
That's the E.
constantly trying to figure out,
Yeah.
what's the meaning of life? And, my husband's probably thinking about the Roman Empire or something.
Oh my,
Uh,
that's a hoot. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Not everybody is right. And different things work for different people. I have noticed
yeah.
that you're calling yourself a couples therapist and relationship coach now.
hmm
So how has that evolved from tell me about that part.
It's interesting. I think it really just started because originally when I started my blog way back when, my only goal was to change people's minds about therapy. And I think some people, especially back then, like therapy was kind of a dirty word, and it was only for people who were
Mm,
broken or something was
mm,
wrong with them. Like it was a
mm.
shameful thing.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think that and I don't know that I necessarily agree with most people's definitions of counseling and coaching, but I do think that, especially when it comes to communication, there's a lot of psychoeducation that can be so helpful that isn't necessarily about digging into your past.
Yeah.
And I think digging into your past can be helpful to figure out what lens you're kind of seeing everything
Mm-hmm.
through. But I also think that shifting the ways that you communicate and getting you different results in the here and now
Yeah.
inherently sort of shifts your lens.
Yeah.
So I think it's this interesting two-way street, and you can do it from one way and you can do it from the other way and you can do it from both ways.
Yeah. I love
But
that.
yeah, so I have some programs for couples. I've got a program and community for moms called Well Mama that it currently isn't open now. It'll be, stay tuned if you want to hear more about that. Get on my
Yeah.
newsletter list on my website.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Couples, moms, communication.
So are all of these paid? Are some of them paid, some free?
So yeah, the free training for busy couples is free, and the How to Not Get Stuck workshop is free,
Okay. So
and the
y'all
others are
in
paid.
so folks, so y'all who are listening to this, if you tune into online business training of any kind, the terms you will hear for that are a lead magnet. That's what a lot of people will call it, a freebie. The coach that Micah and I both worked with called it a valuable free offer, which is
hmm
a habit. I still call them a VFO. That's what I say
Yeah.
all the time. I always have to tell my team what that means because nobody says that. But it is. So just to sort of explain that concept, the concept is that you have something for free on your website that is useful. It's not junk. It's not fluff. Something that actually will help people that they can download for free. And
hmm
in return, they give you their name and their email address. And with that, you begin building a mailing list, an email list where you can contact people and tell them about what you're up to
Yeah.
or share information that can help them. So you've got a couple of those. And this is also a point. People often think you have to have only one or one that's perfect or whatever. And that's not true. You can have lots of them that can change. I have tons of them, right?
Yeah.
And I rotate them in and out depending upon what I'm focusing on at the time. So,
Right.
okay. So all of yours are, so those two that are lead magnets or VFOs are short sort of do it your DIY courses of types. And then
hmm
you have programs that you sell that for a fee, right? And are those like are they evergreen courses that people can take at any time, or are they live courses? Are they something you only
Yes.
offer once a year? Tell me about that. Yeah.
So the couples course that I have, Learn How to Fight, is evergreen. And I'm
Okay.
like, I know that the Gottmans just came out with a book with a really similar title, but I named this thing before they did.
By golly.
And I,
Let's just get that on the record.
oh, theirs is a little bit different, but Learn How to Fight is evergreen. I will periodically run sales on it, but
Hmm.
the Well Mama course in the past and at times is live. We will do 6-week deep dive. And for that, when I launch that periodically throughout the year, Well Mama, the first module, I really just make a free live workshop that people can attend. And then
Hmm.
if they want to opt into the rest,
To keep
they
going.
can for a price.
Oh, that's
But
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so Well Mama is a ridiculous value for what it is. There's a community for moms. We're on Zoom, but we've got, Zoom rooms where, a few people can, get together and discuss things. We do Q&As. We cover 6 topics live over 6 weeks. And yeah, and then I do
Yeah.
retreats for women throughout the year too that are live. So yeah, this is what I mean when I say I have a lot going on. My
You have a
website
lot
gals,
going on.
my website gal's like, now what now? Like how it took her a while to figure out how to organize it all on the site, but she did a beautiful job.
That's great. Well, so
Yeah.
this is how your brain works, though, right? You're constantly creating new things or coming up with a new way to deliver something you've already got.
Or I see a
And
need, or like, I have moms
yes.
coming in constantly and it's the same. And when I just have a mom in the room and not a mom and her husband,
Yeah.
the conversation's different. Or when I'm
Mm-hmm.
speaking to, when I was building my practice, I did a lot of free speaking to
Me
moms
too.
groups.
Yeah.
And the conversations that I was having with just moms was really different. And they were
Yes.
really hungry and they were really struggling. So
Mm-hmm.
I say that Well Mama is a course for women who are tired of saying, why do I have to tell you what to do? Why can't you just know?
Yeah. No. Oh, I love that. Why do I have to tell you what to do? Why can't you just know? Which, like, ding, 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 ding. Everyone who's hearing this, I guarantee you, if you are a counselor, no, not everybody who listens to this are psychotherapists, but those of you who are, I know you can relate to this because I have heard that 4,000 times in my own life.
Yeah,
It is a
I've
conversation I
said
have with
it.
people over and over and over. Yes. And that is a brilliant example. So of one way to think about this. So sort of a theme that I'm noticing here, Micah, is that you really are good at identifying repetitive problems,
Mhm.
repetitive needs, repetitive statements that people say all the time. And once you see it, and y'all, this is something you can all learn from. When you have any, maybe some of you guys can relate to this. I experience this myself, even now in my own counseling work, that I will tell clients sometime, oh, that's the theme this week.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
I would find myself telling the same story all week or using the same homework exercise all week or using the same metaphor. And I'm like, oh, yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
the theme of the week. And it happens all the time. And that very concept, why can't you just know? We all hear that.
Yeah.
And really good marketing is just saying back to people what they're saying to you in language that they're going to go, how'd you know that? How'd you know that? Well,
Right.
I
I
know because you
know.
tell me
I look
over
at
and over.
I look at
Yeah.
so many, not so I don't so many. Oh, I have, it's a real struggle when a family member or a good friend asks me for a therapist referral for something that they need specifically. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know the person offhand, but let me help you search. And when
Mm,
I search and look at therapist websites,
yep.
the majority of the time it's just reading me your resume.
Yep.
Me.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm like, I can't see myself in your website and I can't,
Yes.
and then I don't connect and I don't, rel it's not relatable.
Yes.
My husband saw a therapist for a little while, and in the search for his therapist, it was okay. But then, and part of the work that they were doing together was my oldest daughter has ADHD.
Hmm.
And he needed help
He
figuring
needed help
out.
for
We
her.
all need help
Yep.
figuring out how to deal with our
I get
children
that.
and dealing with our children who are not neurotypical.
Yep.
And so, come to find out, this guy has ADHD, wasn't on his website. His kid or kids have ADHD. If
Yeah.
that would have been on there,
Yep.
it would have
Yep.
been such an easy decision, but people aren't thinking
Yeah.
of like their specific, they're trying, somebody, I think it's probably Christine Kane who said this, but like if you're marketing to everyone, you're marketing to no one.
Amen. 100%. Absolutely.
And if he would have
Yes.
said, here, a little bit of my history, I love that you're, licensed marriage and family therapist. Awesome. But if you would have told me that you have personally
Experienced ADHD.
experience ADHD and you parent, I would have been like hired so
Yes.
fast. That would have made, and people
Yes.
don't think to, include some of like what is specifically unique to them.
Hmm.
And on their website. And I think, school kind of scares us from that. Like we're supposed to be these blank slates.
I see two extremes. I see either people are doing that where it's super technical. It is very much like a resume and it is using a bunch of terms that nobody even knows what that means, nor do they
Right.
care at
Yeah, they
all,
don't. They
actually.
don't.
Or it's the opposite extreme where you don't really tell me anything. And it's a lot of really beautiful, flowery language that also tells me nothing.
Yeah.
My pet peeve, and sorry, y'all, who are if this feels like you when I'm talking to you, I promise I'm not fussing and I'm not judging because I've done it myself. But we tend it cracks me up. I can read like 10 psychology today profiles and they all sound exactly the same.
Hmm.
I believe that your answers are within and I will help you
Hmm.
find your inner guidance and I believe that all of us are called to a high blah
No,
blah
they're
blah
not
blah
saying
blah blah blah.
anything.
Right. It tells
Yeah.
me nothing. It tells me nothing. So why do I have to tell you what to do? Why don't you just know? That's real. That's in
Yeah.
everyday language.
Well, and
Yeah.
one of the when I started writing my blog way back when, and I also this is where the I my whole presence online came from a history. My parents have both been married 3 times. And
Okay.
when my parents divorced, my mom would look at me often and say, do you think you need to go to counseling? And like every other 12-year-old on the planet, I was like, no.
No.
She was like, do you worry a lot? Now, I probably did worry a lot, but everything's relative. So I only knew what my brain did. I didn't
Right.
know that that was a lot until later in life when I
Right.
reduced that worry. And then I could look back and go, wow, I
Yeah.
was really riddled with anxiety.
Yeah.
But my best friend that I made in high school, her mom was a therapist,
Hmm.
and she was just Linda.
Yeah.
And she was so easy to talk to. And at that time, finding a therapist was flipping through the yellow pages and just,
Mm-hmm.
praying.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I thought if I could just be Micah,
Yes. Yes.
then
Just be a real
people,
person.
and the interesting thing, I remember learning in school that, like the mode number of times that somebody sees a therapist is 1. And
Really?
I don't
Mm.
have that because I think that people either, and I'm not saying I'm for everybody, I've got unfollows on Instagram every
Mm-hmm.
day,
Mm-hmm.
but the people who I am a good fit for figure
Yeah.
that out way before they sit down on my couch. And there's already some trust there. And one of the first blog articles I wrote was about my past not being perfect. I did not come from a perfect family. I know exactly what a terrible relationship looks like.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that it's sneaky and insidious the ways that relationships deteriorate over time. I
Yeah.
know what being in a step family feels like.
Yeah.
Um, and my husband, who had degrees in marketing and business, which I mean, from the 90s, early 2000s, it's
Right.
probably just not even relevant anymore, a marketing
Right.
degree from back then,
Yeah.
was like, I don't know if this is very professional.
Right.
And I said,
Should you be saying
good.
all that, honey?
I said, good. I'm not trying to be professional.
Mm.
I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
be me. Not in
Mm-hmm.
a way that's like, woe is me, here's my sad sap story, but
Right.
sharing from a place of a wound,
Yeah.
versus sharing from a place from a scar. It's
Ah.
different. And
Mm.
when you've healed something, when you feel like you have a good relationship with maybe, some crappy cards that you were dealt, sharing from the place of a scar is so valuable to other people. It's like, I've climbed this mountain. Let me show you how.
Let me show you
But
how. Yeah.
sharing from an open, weeping wound, is
Right.
like a cry for help. And knowing the difference, I think, has been helpful for me in deciding what to share and what not to share.
That is a really critical point. And I do think that this is one of your strong suits. And in fact, you said this to me last time we talked. You said something like, I think I do an unusually, what did you say? I'm unusually me online. Like like I am who I am. And,
Yeah.
here you get the real thing here. And I want to sort of talk about this a little bit because I think in today's world, the word authenticity is thrown around a lot. So much so that it's gotten to where it's losing its meaning or its value, I think. We have to be
Mhm.
careful about this. And there is a difference between using your story to encourage and inspire and using your story to join with other people in their pain in a way that says we both suck and life sucks. What can
Yeah,
you do about it?
yeah,
I love that idea of a scar versus a wound. If you are still suffering, if you are still in the middle of whatever that is, yeah, you probably don't want to use that in your marketing because you're not there yet. But
right.
if you've walked through fire a few times in your life, and who hasn't?
Hmm.
At any point, all of us, by the time you reach any age of
Yeah,
significance at all, you've got a story or 10,
right. And
right?
if you've done the work, that's probably part of your
Yes.
superpower, and it's not something to hide.
Yes.
Put that
Yeah.
ADHD on your website.
So I know who you are and I know you get me. I know who
Yeah,
you are and I know you get me. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I began to figure that out when I had a psychologist, one of my business partners back in the day referred somebody to me and she said, Wendy, I've been seeing so and so, but I'm going to send her to you because she needs somebody to give her a kick in the pants. And I really think she needs you. And I was like horrified. I was like, oh no, is that what I do? And she said, oh yeah, it's great. She needs it. And I'm a 9 on the Enneagram, which means I don't
Mhm.
like conflict. I avoid conflict like crazy, which is a problem. And I can also be very direct and can be tough when I need to be, right? And
Yeah,
so I I went from apologizing for that to owning that. And
yeah,
I'm not going to beat you up, but I am going to tell you what I think. And if you're looking for somebody to nod their head and say, I'm probably not your person.
yeah,
And it made a huge difference. My clients changed and my practice grew. Yeah, once I
yeah.
owned that.
When I was
Yeah.
I was in a PhD program for a long time. I did not finish. I realized most of the way through with a very young baby that I didn't want to be in academia or do
Hmm.
research. So what am I doing here?
Why am I here?
But I worked for the department and my program director, I went into his office one day having a total imposter syndrome meltdown.
Yeah.
I was
Mm,
sobbing, and he was
mm,
this warm,
mm.
very nurturing, older, like he's gay. I don't know what that has to do with anything. I do, I don't
Good
know.
energy,
Like
really
he
sweet energy.
had, he had what I think of as like sort of some like motherly, nurturing
Yeah.
energy. Not that that only belongs to women.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
I was sobbing in his office, and my kids call him Uncle Dr. Pope. He passed away
Uncle Dr. Pope.
yeah, he passed away last year.
Mm.
But I was sobbing and I was like, I can't do this. I'm not cut out for this. My I come from like total dysfunction. I don't belong here. And he grabbed my arms and looked me in the eyes and said, Micah, you have X-ray vision into other people's pain because
Mm,
you've had pain. I
mm.
can't teach that.
Yes.
And that's when I realized that
Mm.
my not perfect background, I started to realize, I won't say that day like I 100% was like wearing that as a
Got
badge of
it.
honor on that day, but it started a
Mm.
shift for me that, oh, this might be a
Yep.
good thing. My
Yep.
background might give
Yep.
me a leg up
Yep.
where people who came from perfect backgrounds,
Who are those people? I
yeah.
don't know those people.
Well,
I think
I
there's those
had
people who know they didn't come from a perfect background and those who don't know they didn't come from a perfect background. But,
yeah, yeah. Well,
life
and
is
I
life.
think at the time I
Yeah.
perceived that people,
Yeah.
my background is pretty objectively, quantifiably,
Tough.
when I can say both of my parents have been married 3 times, that's something
Yep.
you can count
Yep.
on your
100%.
hands. And
Yes.
some people's parents are still married, and to me that looked like
Yeah. Yeah.
functional. And so I think the perception, I don't walk around thinking I'm more dysfunctional than most people, or I came from a
Mm.
more dysfunctional background than most
No,
people
but you
anymore.
know what pain feels like. And so you know it when
Yeah.
you see it.
Yeah.
Right. And you connect with it. And that x-ray vision thing, like that, I do think that's what we have sometime. And I do think the more self-aware we are and the more work we have done of our own, which is critical,
Hmm.
the better we are at this. And I mean, I just had a flashback. The first time I was ever in any really, really serious deep therapy where I was doing some real work, I had an appointment, a standing appointment every Friday morning at 8 o'clock. And somewhere pretty quickly along the way, I would walk in the door and pretty much like start crying as soon as I said hi for no reason at all. Like,
Yes.
I'm having a perfectly fine morning. What in the heck is this about? And I
Yeah.
remember the therapist saying, she said, I said, I hate this. What the heck is this? Like, I'm fine, and I would just get emotional as soon as I got there. And she said, you've learned that this is the crying place. And well, that
Yeah.
sucks. I don't want
Yeah.
that.
It's the
Um,
safe
I
place.
hated it, but she said, you will be a better therapist for having had this experience. And I have
Hmm.
never forgotten that. And she's right, because I know what it feels like to sit on that side of the couch or that side of the chair. Right.
Yeah.
And what I love about this for you, Micah, is that you take this real experience of life, this self-awareness, understanding, and you translate it into video, audio, teaching in person and online so that those who need what you have to share can connect with it, relate to it, understand it, and if we're lucky, come and get some help.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
we want. Come and get some help. So you're saying to people, listen, not only do I have real life training and honest to God credentials, and yes, they mean something if you care about that, but what I really have is life experience. And I'm not afraid to share that with you
Yeah.
um, in an appropriate way that I think actually is professional.
Hmm.
Right. Right. So it's not so black and white. This is powerful. Yeah.
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 Thanks. I know I just met with a couple of therapist friends and they're like, they really, I, they really like what I'm sharing online, but they have like an internal struggle with what they learned in school and how
Yep.
much to share and how much
Yep.
not to share. And they're like, how do you do that? How do you
Yeah.
decide?
Yeah.
I had a mentor who I think I learned a lot through stories.
We
And
all do.
so
Yeah.
she would share, not from a place of a wound, but from a place of a scar. When appropriate, she would share stories. And
Yes.
those were very helpful for me. And it didn't feel, I understand the intent of, not wanting to share too much of yourself or, to cross boundaries as a therapist into, like the friend zone. And yeah, there's a difference between, somebody saying, God, I'm so depressed, and you going, oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too. Right. Don't do that. Right.
And, like I had clients last week where he called her a bitch, and you know, we 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 talked about we were talking about it and talking about it, and I think that when that happens, it's didn't happen in session, it happened out of session, but
Yeah.
it's hard for the person who is name called to not go into this like
Yeah.
righteously indignant place, which they are totally justified to be in, by the way.
Yeah.
Name calling is not okay. And
Yeah.
simultaneously, that's not going to get anybody to a resolution or to a place where there's less name calling and more
Yeah.
understanding and more vulnerability. And so I tell a story. And I'm not going to tell the whole story. And you can find it if you just search Mika Ross, like doesn't love hugs, you'll find a blog article where I talk about one morning where my husband called me a bitch because we had miscommunicated about love
Mm-hmm.
languages a good 6 years into our marriage.
Mm.
And how we got through that and how I got
Mm-hmm.
underneath that and how I realized he wasn't particularly feeling loved. And
Yeah.
he was interpreting my lack of physical affection as I didn't love him.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when you're
Yeah.
hurt, we'll hurt people.
Yes. Yes.
Understandable doesn't make it okay. Understandable,
Yes.
though. So, yeah.
Understandable doesn't make it okay, but once you understand it, you can do something about it. Is how I always feel
Right.
like.
Yeah. And
Right.
continuing
Yeah.
to teach people a lesson about how what they did wasn't okay isn't going to get in anyone. You're stuck. Now it's how not to get stuck. You're stuck.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
told that story. And by the end, they had both softened because they both felt deeply seen and understood in that story. And
Mm.
also, like, I think too, a little less shame. Like, oh, my therapist's husband. I'm sure
Yes.
my husband's really going to be thrilled that I should. I have name called too. Let me just throw myself under the bus. Neither of us are perfect.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and while he doesn't bring degrees into this relationship, he does bring a very phenomenal sense of humor, which gets us through
Mm.
about half of the interactions that
Yeah.
my training
Yeah.
doesn't. So,
Yeah. This is such a good point because when we think about the concept of marketing, which makes everybody I know break out in hives,
Yeah.
like all marketing is to me is a conversation that is a service to those that you want to help. When done well, it is a conversation about how much you understand them and how you can help them. And telling your story or parts of your story or allowing part of your own your true self to show, whether it's as part of your marketing or for that matter in a session as a story that you
Yeah.
tell. Like there is some discernment there in
Hmm.
terms of what to do, what to say and when to say it and how to say it. The way I was always taught was the filter to use was, am I telling this story because this is going to help you? This is good for
Hmm.
my client. Or am I telling you this story just because I just want to share?
Yeah.
Right. And I have to watch that all the time because I can talk a lot and I can tell stories all day long. And if I relate to and sometimes it has nothing to do with what they're there for. We're talking about travel and I want to tell a travel story, whatever.
Hmm.
I have to watch that. And I think for people who are a little anxious about the concept of marketing, I want you to hear what Micah is saying, that when she is real, like sort of startlingly real, but not inappropriately real. That's the key here, that it makes it so much easier for her people to find her, understand her, connect with her, and want to hire her,
Yeah.
which is good for her business, which is why we're in business,
Yeah.
and good for them because they're going to
Yes.
get what they need. That's a win win. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to ask a little bit, one thing about marketing, then I want to get into sort of the structure and the how to's in the background.
Okay.
In terms of the whole concept of marketing at all as a therapist, like how do you think about it? And how did you ever have that kind of icky feeling or has that
Uh,
not been a problem for you?
oh no, yeah, I really felt a lot of a
You
lot
know
of
what I mean, right?
ickiness,
Yeah.
a lot of ickiness about it. It feels, you don't want to be a car salesman, but I had to really remind myself constantly that I'm not selling lemons.
Yes.
And so,
Mm.
yeah,
I'm not
which
selling lemons.
I'm not selling lemons. Um, yeah, and I think that when my, I didn't intend to work with mostly couples. I do have degrees in
Mm.
marriage and family counseling, but my practice sort of and word of mouth sort of decided that for me. And I think I realized that if I was going to be working with couples and I wasn't going to be dealing with a lot of insurance, that I had to make a decision to be on insurance panels or to market myself.
Yeah.
And honestly, I
You
would
have been self-pay from the beginning, right? You never did insurance.
from the
Yeah.
beginning. And so I made a really conscious decision. And marketing myself was a lot more creative and fun than fighting with insurance companies to pay their bills. And I think probably takes the same amount of time. So,
Hold on. That's a writer downer. Marketing myself was more fun and creative and takes about the same amount of time as it would to be fighting with insurance companies to get paid.
yeah,
Something,
yeah,
am I right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I can use my time to chase after reimbursement for services I've already delivered and try to get paid for work I've already done. Or I can just learn how to promote myself. And it's creative and fun. No one says that, Micah, about marketing.
yeah. Well,
Marketing is creative and fun.
I get to write. I get to, sometimes I'm making things on Canva, which if any of these things aren't your jam, and
Yeah.
when you say my marketing is great, there is this little piece of me that's like, really?
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't
Uh,
necessarily do it if as, if you watch these people who are, their expertise is in marketing and their expertise is in social media marketing, I'm not nearly as
of
consistent as they
course.
want me to be.
Right.
I'm as
Yeah.
consistent as I can be.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that has worked for me. So I think you have to find what feels good for you. If I was doing something that felt dreadful, if writing to you feels dreadful,
Yep. Don't do it. Do something
people
else.
are going to feel that,
Yep.
making videos, I think there just is an element of dreadfulness, especially in the beginning, but I think it's the quickest way to get yourself out there and relate to people, especially nowadays. And you get some positive feedback and it starts to not feel so dreadful. But yeah, it's creative and fun. And I sometimes I wear silly wigs in my videos. I'm trying to figure out the most succinct way to say something. Sometimes they're silly, sometimes they're not. Yeah, but I would much rather be doing all of that than fighting with the insurance companies. Now, you might be different. And if
Right.
that's the case, then
Right.
you do you.
You do you. I love that. Yeah, I was just looking at I wrote down here that you told me last time that you were really good at figuring out systems and tech.
Mhm.
So let's talk. So we talked a lot about being real online. What I was thinking is you may not be as consistent as some think you should be, but what you are is effective. And you market in a way that works for you. You are effective. That's the ultimate, that's the point of all of it.
Yeah,
Like if you
yeah.
got that, you're good. So tell us, like, what are you doing from a market? Like, what does marketing look like for MikaRoss.com? What are all the things that you do? This may be a whole nother hour. I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's, I tried to post real. I am really fly by the seat of my pants.
You are creative. Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason. If I start to see themes, like you said, in my sessions throughout the week, I have a note in my phone that's entitled Reels, and I jot it down in my phone. And then if I have time here and there, but I also schedule time. Like my whole Wednesday is dedicated to working on my business and not in my business.
Yeah.
Friday afternoons are dedicated to that too. I could also do that Monday and Tuesday mornings. So, and I, in the program that we were both in, it was pretty drilled into us, like when we were asked what we did. And I said, oh, I'm a therapist and I work with couples. And, the coach looked at me and said, no, you're a marketer first.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
And I was like, ooh. And it really challenged me to, make time for it. And it's a worthy thing to make time for.
It's a worthy thing to make time for. Your attitude about this, I think, is part of what draws me to you so much because your energy is important. The energy you bring to anything that you do is important. And if the energy you bring is dread and resistance, it is going to suck the work that you do.
Right. And so some weeks making a reel does feel like dread and resistance. And and I have lots of things that in my, marketing pie that I could be working on. Yesterday, I didn't make a single reel. Yesterday was Wednesday. I have a podcast coming out, but I needed to do some back end stuff on my website to make, speaking of being good at systems, I have realized that the systems I have around technology and phone time for my kids are things that not a lot of people have figured out. And so I'm going to do a workshop on it. I'm going to do a workshop on how I manage technology and phone and screen time in our house and what technology we use, how I set up the systems. But that the first podcast that I recorded was with the chief officer of 988, the National Suicide Hotline. And we talked a lot about technology. And so anyway, on the back end of my website, I'm having to create the graphic for the workshop that I'm going to do about this, because that'd be a really great thing to talk about at the end of the podcast. So the podcast isn't out yet, but it's called How to Talk About It. And
this is that you're launching your own podcast?
Yes.
Congratulations.
We've got a few recorded, and
that's exciting.
There's a lot of details that go.
Yeah, there are.
So yesterday I was working on that creative stuff, and I didn't create a reel. And then, but the day before I dyed my roots, and with with the cap still on my head, I made a quick reel.
Goodness gracious. Okay, I'm probably not going to do that, but that is great. So what do you still have a blog? Are you writing?
I think that Instagram has really taken the place of my blog. And I think I could be repurposing a lot of what I post on Instagram on my blog. And I should probably put my assistant in charge of that now that I'm saying all this out loud. But this is what I mean when I say what I'm doing isn't perfect. But I don't think that it really has to be.
Right. So you're posting on Instagram pretty often, it sounds like. And most of what you're doing are short videos, short reels, right? and you create those. It sounds like a blend of intentionally with a certain amount of structure and planning, and also on the spur of the minute when the mood hits you or the
Yeah.
inspiration strikes,
So
right?
the idea that I had for the reel that I recorded earlier this week came to me a long time ago. It's about asking for what you need. If I say to my husband, "Tell me how good I look," scale 0 to 10, and he
Yeah.
says 9.5, does it
Yeah.
mean any less because I asked for it? No, that was the reel. But I just dyed my roots and I was looking at myself in the mirror and I was like, okay, well, this would be a funny time to record this. And
Yeah.
it, and they say
Yeah.
that, weird visuals and get people to look at your reel. And so
Yep.
I did it with the cap on
Yep.
my head.
Yeah. Real and funny and brave. Yeah. So, and your humor is a big part of it too. Like you're funny. But you also told me that you had recorded one time right after you'd had a fight with one of your teens. You got a house full of teenagers now, right? And that it was a really upsetting thing. And you came in and recorded and you had been crying. And I'm like, wow. Right.
Well, it wasn't a fight. I actually had been crying because, and it wasn't a fight. This was
Okay.
my
I've
one
got
of
that
my
wrong.
most popular reels, and the Gottman Institute actually picked it up and reshared it. I'd had an
Mm.
interaction with my teen the weeks prior that I had had in my reels list, and I create just sort of like a bullet journaly goals list every week with just it's really not
Hmm.
anything Pinterest worthy. It's just circles of things and next to them things I want to do and I fill in the circle.
Yeah.
So I just had that I had wanted to get a reel done that day. And sometimes that just forces me to do it real
Yep.
quick. And
Yep.
I had been crying because I got the yes from 988 that they were going to do the interview with me. And she had been on the Sunday morning show.
Mm.
And
Oh,
that's where I saw her first. And so I was so thrilled that this was working
oh,
out.
got it.
And I had
Got
just
it.
landed a really big interview. And
Yeah.
so that made me teary. And I was like, I have 30
Mm.
minutes to record a reel if I'm going to do it today. So my makeup wasn't perfect. Some guy
Got it.
recently commented that my lipstick wasn't blended enough, which
Are you
whatever.
kidding me?
No, no.
Good
A
Lord.
million views. I've probably gotten tens of thousands of followers from this. The Gottman Institute shared it, but some dude, that's all he had to say.
Bless
But
his
yeah,
heart.
it doesn't we don't need to be dancing.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes just share. And this is the thing, this
Yeah.
interaction that I shared, it's the first thing pinned on my Instagram page, was a
Mm.
real interaction with my teen and how I
Hmm.
dealt with it.
Got it. Yeah.
And like how I
Yeah.
dealt with her slamming the refrigerator door shut right after I'd spent $450 at the grocery store and saying, "God, there's never any food around here," which so many people can relate to. So
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I've just like, how can you think more about documenting your life than it doesn't have to always be wigs and creating. And sometimes it's just me sharing a simple story about
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
we dealt with something around here.
Yeah. I think when you told me that before, I was blending those two
Yeah.
things. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you straightened me out on that because I was like, that was really something. But your point is that you don't have to be perfect, just be who you are and
Yeah.
meet your goals. Your goal is I'm going to do this today. I'm going to create this today, whether you
Hmm.
feel like it or not, do it.
Yeah.
Which is also important because that is also there's this sort of happy medium here between structure and flexibility. Like to promote your practice, you have to be real. You also have to be seen, and you have to be seen in some kind of a regular basis. So setting your structure in a way where I'm going to produce this week, whether it's a blog post, whether it's a video, whatever it is, whether it's a podcast, you have to do it because you have to show up. You have to show up for your
Yeah.
people.
Well, and
Yeah.
as a P on a
Yeah.
Myers-Briggs,
Yeah.
I'm sort of allergic to high
Structure.
structure.
Yeah.
And so for
Yeah.
me, what works better is just having certain things that I want to complete throughout the week.
One way or
And,
another.
if it doesn't happen today, it can happen
Yep.
tomorrow. And,
Yep. Yep.
having my husband and I meet on Saturday mornings and we're a little bit of accountability for each other on those things.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think you have to figure out what works for you. If I had my day hyper scheduled,
Right. So
I
you're
would
not,
fail every day.
well, you're the way as I understand your process, that you've got a target that's going to happen sometime this week. The specifics of how and when is a little fluid because things
Yes.
unfold as they fall, but you still have a target. And more often than not, you reach that target, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like that. What would you say is the biggest mistake, or maybe mistake's not the right way to think about this, but what's the biggest mindset issue that holds other healers, whether they're psychotherapists or whether they're other kinds of, like, you could be a Reiki practitioner or a massage therapist, whatever. What is it? What is the biggest thing that you think holds people back from really just shining their light and getting out there and telling people what they do?
I think that this was, I mean, I definitely had a lot of work to do around this too, but I think it's charging for helping and charging for
Mm,
healing. It seems like there's a real, that's a real sticky area for a lot of people. And it feels like we're simultaneously harming them and helping them.
just by charging for what we do, by having a fee.
Right.
Yep.
But, that coaching program that we both did
Yeah.
was probably the thing that convinced me the most because it was not cheap. It was the
Nope.
most I had invested in myself since graduate school. And if I was going to be in a business for myself, I needed to learn about business. And man,
Yeah.
did that price tag hold my feet to the fire
Yep. Yep.
and make me do things that I might not have done
I spent a lot of
otherwise.
money to get here. I've got to learn this. I'm not going to
Yeah.
ignore
And I've
this.
got to do this uncomfortable thing
Yep.
because I just paid all this money. So I've got to create change. And
Yes.
I think that, even when I was working, at the University Counseling Center, we could have charged nothing for our services, but we were encouraged I think our student clients had to pay $10 per session just so they
Yeah.
had some investment because there is some
Yep.
psychology in
Yep.
that investment and having people invest in themselves and invest in the results, they're going to be more likely to get there.
Yep.
And if you, and I am not, it's going to be easier for me to help more people if I'm charging for my services.
Yeah.
I, so I had to do a lot of work to see it as a win-win-win. And it was hard.
But it's not a game. And we're not twisting something to make something okay that isn't. It really is a win-win, right? For everybody. Because,
Yeah.
and I agree with you. I think, so when I market, so the whole concept of marketing, if I go out there and say, hey, everybody, I'm great. You should come pay me a ton of money. That feels sleazy and salesy
Yeah.
and totally out of alignment with our values as healing arts professionals. On the other hand, if I see and own that I actually do know something, like I know what I'm doing here, and I can't help everybody, but I can help a lot of people. And if I don't tell you about that in a way that has some confidence behind it, if I don't trust it, then you shouldn't trust it either. And if I don't think
Yeah.
this is worth paying for, then why should you
Right.
think it's worth paying for? Right?
Well, yeah,
First,
and you're also modeling how to honor yourself
yep.
and your worth and value.
Yep.
And I wouldn't, I'm not going to dim my light or my worth and value because that's not
Yes.
going to help you
It doesn't
in the
help you at
quest of
all.
your own. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is where I always say that money is a therapeutic issue,
Mm-hmm.
because all the ways that we address money in our practice, the way we talk about it, feel about it, manage it with our clients, it is every bit as much a part of the work as anything else that we do. And
Yeah.
this is one of the hallmarks, is that when we honor our own worth, we are modeling for our clients to honor theirs. And your point earlier about the program that you and I met in, I mean, that was it was like $7,000 program, and then it went up 10 and then 12 and then 15.
I think I got in when it was 5 maybe,
Oh,
but
you were in really early. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It is. And today those kinds of prices are even higher than that. So, but
Yes.
it is very common, y'all, to join a program. A lower level coaching program is going to be 3,000, and they're going to go up to as high as 20. And I've heard plenty of stories of people who've paid for that kind of money and did not get the value out of it. So yeah, of course, do your homework and
Yeah.
listen to your heart. And if it doesn't feel right, don't do it, for sure. But what you're saying, Micah, is that when you invested in a big way, you grew in a big way. And that's exactly
Right.
what your clients do with you. And to me, all of that is tied in with the whole concept of marketing, why it is okay to
Mm-hmm.
market, that you have to believe in what you're doing. And learning how to sell, if I can say that, it feels like I know that that just goes against the grain because we are not taught that in school. That's the
Yeah.
business college down the street. That's not
Yeah.
social work where I
Yeah.
was,
Right.
right? No, we're not doing that. I used to speak every year at the local university. College of Social Work would do this big all-day program for incoming graduate students, and they would put a panel together of social workers to come and talk about life in the field. And there'd be like 6 or 7 of us, and we'd be talking about childhood poverty and domestic violence and addiction issues and oppression and racial justice and all good things, all good
Hmm.
things. And I would be the only one in the group that would say, you deserve to get paid well. Make sure you negotiate for your salary. You
Yeah.
know? and I talked about public service because I served a term in office, and I talked about running a business, and I would be swarmed afterwards
Hmm.
because my message was so different from everyone else's. And I'm not diminishing that. I am a social worker to my core.
Yeah.
And when you make good money, you have a good living and you have a great service that is, you can serve thousands of people, make a
Yeah.
huge difference, and get paid well. Yeah. And in your business, you've got different price points. So folks can
Yes.
access help no matter what they, one way or another, they can get something. That's
Exactly.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I feel like I preach this all the time. You talk about the message you come back to over and over and over again. This is the message I come back to over and over. It is, I think it is my life's thing. My whole life's work is to get people to believe in themselves and stop apologizing because you want to
Yeah.
get paid well for what you do. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Ugh.
And
I know. It's
your marketing really is good because you don't apologize for that and you own it and you put it out there and you are real. It's beautiful. So there.
I mean, it's taken some work to get there, but
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't have any issues with marketing anymore. It
No.
doesn't feel icky to me at all.
No.
And
Yeah.
I think when you have when you start to do it and then you start just like with anything else, you know, when I tell clients that, okay, we're gonna choose vulnerability when next in the next thing that we say, it's hard, it feels uncomfortable, but then
Yeah.
you get the positive reinforcement
Yeah.
afterwards. And
Yeah.
I think marketing's kind of the same.
It gets easier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
20 years. You've been working on this for 20 years and this is
Oh
what it
my
looks
God.
like. Which
So,
sounds like a lot, but actually, you know what? I see that as you're just growing up. You're growing up.
yeah,
It's really good.
yeah.
So, Micah, this is Austin. So, for people who want to learn more about you or who want to see an example of how you show up in the world, what's the best way for them to find you?
So I'm on Instagram the most, and that's mikaross.therapist, Mikaross, like Betsy. And my website is mikaross.com. So between those two places, there's a whole lot of resources and free clips, free workshops, free trainings. So that's a great place to see what I'm doing.
Love it. And I actually think that your website, some of the things that you're offering could be a resource for my clients, like my counseling
Yeah.
folks. Like I can say, go see what she's got. She's got some good stuff. So y'all look her up and look at her website and notice how her messaging presents who she is and poke around a little bit because you're learning not only who she is as a human being, but also how she helps people and
Yeah.
learn from that. Learn from that. It's really good.
Well, and I will
And
say,
yeah,
when I worked with I told you my website was expensive, but my messaging between the new expensive website and the old not expensive website is not very different. And I
yeah,
often go against what is recommended, you know, and say a little bit more than what my website gal wants me to say. She wants it smaller so she can fit it in and make it pretty. But, you know, to make it, I do it more like you can scroll through if you want to and go into different sections. But I think that it's important to convey who you are and that you understand where I want people to see themselves.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
I hope it's pretty and relatable, but
Yes.
that's, you know, that's up for everybody else to judge, I guess.
Well, I would say of all of that, what matters most is the message more than
Yeah.
anything else. Actually, you don't even have to have a website. You can have a Facebook business page. You
Yep.
can have an Instagram page. But as long as you are real, your message is clear and your offer is clear, how you serve people, how you help, and what step they can take to approach you. Like
Yeah.
tell them how to find you, tell them what to do. because they are overwhelmed. If they knew what to do, they would do it already. So
Right.
make it simple. Here I am. Here's how I can help. Call me or email me, whatever it is, or go try this free thing I've got online. Do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Micah, thank you for this today.
Yeah.
It is fun and wide ranging, and your creative, funny, all out there spirit is such a great example for the rest of us. I don't know that I'm ever going to be dyeing my hair on in front of anybody. Actually, I quit doing that a long time ago, so it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter anymore.
Yeah.
But that's a really funny story and a great example. Is
That,
there
yeah.
I always ask people before I close if is there anything that we haven't talked about, anything I haven't asked you, or anything that you just feel called to share that would make this
Oh,
conversation complete?
oh my gosh. What a big question.
It's only as big as you make
I
it.
think I would say, the
Mm.
things that I do on the on the internet and in my blog, I did them with my family. My kids don't like my online presence. My husband would never
Yeah.
be this personal online. And
Yeah.
and I don't wait for other people to be in agreement with how you want to do things, or
Mm.
because you're not trying to be authentic to them, you're trying to be authentic to you. And
Yeah.
I wonder if as my kids mature, they will appreciate what I'm doing a little. Now they just find it cringy, which I totally understand.
They're teenagers.
What teen wants to hear their mom talking about sex drive on the internet? Not one.
What teen
But
wants to think their mom has a sex drive?
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't, if there's some, and the things that I wanted to do in my business and the visions that I had, like that's it was sort of felt like this drum beat that was inside of
Yeah.
me. And I,
Yeah.
I for a little while was hoping to convince everybody on the outside of this thing that they couldn't see yet.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
realized that I had to create it and then go, see, look what I made.
Yeah.
My husband's like, I never would have done it this way, but it's totally worked for you.
Yeah. Because it's real for you.
Yeah, but
It's true
it's
for
not
you.
his way.
Mm-mm.
He has a business, he does it totally different.
It wouldn't work for him. It wouldn't work for
Exactly.
him. Right. Which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is what ideal is. When I talk about an ideal practice, my point is that everyone's practice is different. What's ideal for you is different from someone else. Same goes for marketing. What's ideal for you is different from someone else. But you do need to be marketing. You
Yeah.
have to get the word out there about what you do.
Yeah.
So that's great. And don't wait for approval. Don't wait for approval. Do it your way. You do you. That's the
Hmm.
message. You do you.
Yeah.
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 Love it. Love it. Thank you, Micah. This is
You're
really
so
great.
welcome.
And
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
yeah, it's been fun. And I can't wait to hear. I will make sure when your podcast is live, tell me, and I'll
Okay, I
come
will.
back and
I
I'll
will.
link it in for sure. It's
Oh,
really great.
thanks. That would be
Yeah.
great. Perfect.
It's a big deal launching a podcast. I know.
I know. I keep telling people next week. I should have just, my grandfather built a house over 7 years, and the joke was he should just tell people it's going to be done on Tuesday when they would ask. But he never said which
Which
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
I should just start telling people it's going to be done on Friday, because I
Yeah,
just keep, I'm like, oh, nope, one more.
not yet.
There's some more things, some more.
It's okay. It's okay. And it doesn't stop once you get it launched because then you have to keep it going. There's all that,
Yeah.
but you'll do fine. You'll do fine because you've got systems. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, my friend. Thank you for being here with us today on Ideal Practice. It's been a real treat, and
Yeah.
so good to reconnect with you and to see how well you're doing. I love it, and I hope that this will inspire and encourage some of my shyer folks out there to get out there and shine a little bit brighter. So,
Oh,
thank
thanks,
you.
Wendy.
Yeah. All right, everyone. With that, we will bring this to a close. But I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you'll go back and listen to it maybe more than once and go check out Micah's website and follow her on Instagram. You heard that. We'll have that linked down below as well in case you didn't catch it. Have a great week, everybody. And I'll see you next week right here, back, same bat time, same bat station on Ideal Practice. Bye now. Hey, y'all. If this program has become important to you, if Ideal Practice matters, it would mean so much to me if you'd be willing to take just a minute to do one or two of the following things. First of all, would you follow or subscribe to the show here at Ideal Practice? Following me helps you because you'll never miss an episode. but it helps me as well for all kinds of reasons. To do that, all you have to do is go to the show page for Ideal Practice on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. There, just click on the plus sign that you'll usually find in the top right-hand corner, or click on the word follow that you're going to find somewhere there on that page. Of all the things, this really is the most important thing you can do for the podcast itself. While you're there, it would be extra special if you would be willing to give me a 5-star rating, and even better than that, a review with your own words. Your words matter. And when you write what you feel, what you think, you uplift and encourage others. And I love that. If you want to go a step further than that, take your favorite episode or two, one of the ones that has meant a lot to you, and share it with a friend. Could you do one or two of those things for me? I promise I will love you forever. You guys matter to me, and I value your support more than I can possibly say. Thank you, sweet friend, for anything you can do to help me out and support the show. I'll see you again soon.